We are reading from chapter 2 or chapter 2, verse 39. Esha te vihita sankhye buddhir yoge ta imam shrunu buddhaya yukto yaya partha karma bandham prihasyasi. Esha te vihita sankhye buddhir yoge tamam shrunu buddha yukto yaya partha karma bandham prihasyasi. Word for word. Esha, all this, te unto you. Abhihita, described. Sankhya, in analytical study. Buddhi, intelligence. Yoga, in work without fruitive result. Tu, but. Imam, this. Shuni, just here. Buddhaya, by intelligence. Yukta, dovetailed. Yaya, by which. Parth, O son of Pratha. Karma bandham, bondage of reaction. Prihashyasi, you can be released from. Translation. Thus far, I have described this knowledge to you through analytical study. Now listen as I explain it in terms of working without fruitive results. O son of Pratha, when you act in such knowledge, you can free yourself from the bondage of words. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. According to the Nirukti Vedic dictionary, Sankhya means that which describes things in details, and Sankhya refers to that philosophy which describes the real nature of the soul. And yoga involves controlling the senses. Arjuna's proposal not to fight was based on sense gratification. Forgetting his prime duty, he wanted to cease fighting because he thought that by not killing his relatives and kinsmen, he would be happier than by enjoying the kingdom after conquering his cousins and brothers, the sons of Dhritarashtra. In both ways, the basic principles were for sense gratification. Happiness derived from conquering them and happiness derived by seeing kinsmen alive are both on the basis of personal sense gratification, even at a sacrifice of wisdom and duty. Krishna therefore wanted to explain to Arjuna that by killing the body of his grandfather, he would not be killing the soul proper, and he explained that all individual persons, including the Lord himself, are eternal individuals. They were individuals in the past, they are individuals in the present, and they will continue to remain individuals in the future. Because all of us are individual souls eternally. We simply change our bodily address in different manners, but actually, we keep our individuality even after liberation from the bondage of material dress. An analytical study of the soul and the body has been very graphically explained by Lord Krishna. And this descriptive knowledge of the soul and the body from different angles of vision has been described here as Sankhya in terms of the Nirukti dictionary. This Sankhya has nothing to do with the Sankhya philosophy, the atheist Kapila. Long before the impostor Kapila's Sankhya, the Sankhya philosophy was expounded in the Srimad Bhagavatam by the true Lord Kapila, incarnation of Lord Krishna, who explained it to his mother Devahuti. It is clearly explained by him that the Purusha or the Supreme Lord is active and that he creates by looking over the Prakriti. This is accepted in the Vedas and in the Gita. The description in the Vedas indicates that the Lord glanced over the Prakriti or nature and impregnated it with atomic individual souls. All these individuals are working in the material world for sense gratification, and under the spell of material energy, they are thinking of being enjoyers. This mentality is dragged to the last point of liberation, when the living entity wants to become one with the Lord. This is the last snare of Maya or sense gratificatory illusion. And it is only after many, many births of such sense gratificatory activities that a great soul surrenders unto Vasudeva, Lord Krishna. Therefore, by fulfilling the search after the ultimate truth. Arjun has already accepted Krishna as his spiritual master by surrendering himself unto him. Shishyaste aham sadhi mam tvam prapannam. Consequently, Krishna will now tell him about the working process in Buddhi Yoga or Karma Yoga, or in other words, practice of devotional service only for the sense gratification of the Lord. This Buddhi Yoga is clearly explained in chapter 10, verse 10, as being direct communion with the Lord who is sitting as Paramatma in everyone's heart. But such communion does not take place without devotional service. One who is therefore situated in devotional or transcendental loving service of the Lord, or in other words, in Krishna consciousness, attains to this stage of Buddhi Yoga by the specific grace of the Lord. The Lord says, therefore, that only to those who are always engaged in devotional service out of transcendental love does he award a pure knowledge of devotion in love. In that way, the devotees can reach him easily in the ever blissful kingdom of Lord. Thus, the Buddhi Yoga mentioned in this verse is the devotional service of the Lord. And the word Sankhya mentioned herein has nothing to do with the atheistic Sankhya yoga enunciated by the impostor Kapila. One should not therefore misunderstand that the Sankhya yoga mentioned herein has any connection with the atheistic Sankhya philosophy or atheistic Sankhya, nor did that philosophy have any influence during that time, nor would Lord Krishna care to mention such godless philosophical speculations. Real Sankhya philosophy is described by Lord Kapila in Srimad Bhagavatam. But even that Sankhya has nothing to do with the current topic. Here, Sankhya means analytical description of the body and soul. Lord Krishna made an analytical description of the soul just to bring Arjun to the point of Buddhi Yoga or Bhakti Yoga. Therefore, Lord Krishna's Sankhya and Lord Kapila's Sankhya, as described in Bhagavatam, are one and the same. They are all Bhakti Yoga. Lord Krishna said, therefore, that only the less intelligent class of men make a distinction between Sankhya Yoga and Bhakti Yoga. Sankhya Yoga prathak balah pravadantena panditaha. Of course, atheistic Sankhya Yoga has nothing to do with Bhakti Yoga. Yet, the unintelligent claim that the atheistic Sankhya Yoga is referred to in the Bhagavad Gita. One should therefore understand that Buddhi Yoga means to work in Krishna consciousness in the full bliss and knowledge of devotional service. One who works for the satisfaction of the Lord only, however difficult such work may be, is working under the principles of Buddhi Yoga and finds himself always in transcendental bliss. By such transcendental engagement, one achieves all transcendental understanding automatically by the grace of the Lord, and thus his liberation is complete in itself without his making extraneous endeavors to acquire knowledge. There is much difference between work in Krishna consciousness and work for fruitive results, especially in the matter of sense gratification for achieving results in terms of family or material happiness. Buddha Yoga is therefore the transcendental quality of the work that we perform. Esha te vihita sankhe buddhir yoge tva imam shrunu buddhaya yukto yaya partha karma bandham prihashyasi. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Ajnanam Timirindasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namah. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale
Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Sapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Uta Padakamalam Shri Gurum Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathan Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Shri Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Deenabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Shri Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhu Bhayevaccha Patitanam Pavnebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So Lord Krishna has come to a point where he has just explained to Arjun that we are not this body, we are the soul. And after reading this long purport by Srila Prabhupada, we can appreciate his dexterity to express the complete philosophy and compress it to give us the essence of everything that what it is. Let's say if somebody gets Srila Prabhupada's book and he happened to open this page and opens Bhagavad Gita 239. I think if you just read this entire purport, you just get the complete essence of all the Vedic literatures right here in this particular explanation. He has been debating about the Sankhya philosophy, the philosophy as mentioned by Lord Kapila himself, and there's an impostor Kapila, and then the philosophy that Lord Krishna has just explained to Arjuna. Lord Krishna is saying, Karma bandham prihasyasi. One would be released from the bondage of reaction. So we all know that our body is nothing but a karmic reaction. Somebody may think that karmic reactions happen to the body, the material distress, the material happiness, all that comes to the body. But the body itself is a karmic reaction. If we didn't have any karmic reaction, material energy would not provide us the material body to come here and experience the happiness and distress of the material world. So the very fact that we have a body which is made of matter, in actual fact, our bodies are not made of matter. It's Satchitananda, Satchit and Anand, just like Lord Krishna's. His body is not made of matter. Some people would say that Krishna's body is made of matter. Why the blood was coming through when he was attacking Bhishma? The blood was coming through because his devotee desired to see the blood on the face of Bhishma, on the face of Lord Krishna. Because his devotee wanted to worship this form of Lord Krishna, attacking upon him on the field of battle and having a chariot in his hand and trying to throw it on Bhishma. So some droplets of blood, dust in his ear, black curly hair, beautiful, divine, blackish blue hue of Lord's complexion, beautiful, nice saffron dhoti, shining body, shining face, moonlight shining face, full of anger and full of dust. Bhishma had been worshipping Lord Krishna like this throughout his life. He wanted to see this form of Lord. And therefore, Lord Krishna expressed that kind of form to his devotee. So those who are less intelligent will not understand why Lord is behaving in a one way or the other way. They will always come and argue. And so are many such impostors like Kapila that Lord Srila Prabhupada is mentioning here. However, what Lord Kapila Sankhya philosophy that he's mentioning is breaking down all the elements of the material energy into 25 elements, including soul and super soul. Of course, we know it is earth, fire, water, air, ether. Then earth interacts with the nose through smell. Air interacts with the skin and through the form of touch. And the fire has a form and it interacts with heat. So like that, we know all the elements. Water has a form, and we have this tongue to taste the water. So all the senses are provided to understand and interact with the material elements or the objects of the senses. So senses are there, objects of senses are there, and there's a verb in between. There's a touch, there's a smell, there's a sound that you hear, which travels to ether. So 15 elements are right there in front of us. Then there is certain demigods who are controlling these senses, the moon, the Ashwini Kumaras, the Vayu, the sun, like that. If you count them all, and then you include soul, super soul, it's all 25 elements. And then the whole material world or material energy can be broken down into 25 material elements. And the spiritual being, including the Lord himself, is present in that 25. Here, Krishna is explaining Arjun a solution that we all are seeking. Karma bandham prihasyasi. Srila Prabhupada always say, go back to Godhead. What does that mean? That definitely means that you annihilate this body. You make it zero. How do you make it zero? That's the solution he's giving. How can you get rid of your karma bandhan? The karma that you're doing is you're doing out of attachment. Arjun is thinking that these guys are my grandfather, my friends, my relatives, and I shouldn't be killing them. It's out of bodily attachment. And these attachments are just not with body. Our attachments are with the objects of the senses. We have given senses and we want to gratify our senses. And that's a natural tendency in the material world. It's natural. That's how nature has made. But it's unnatural, because that's how not the soul is used to experience this prior to coming to this material world. The soul has different propensities. The soul has a propensity to love Krishna, to serve Krishna. The soul has a propensity to give sense gratification to the senses of the Lord. Soul has a propensity to work for getting whatever fun that comes out of that work. Offer it to Krishna. Yad ashnashi, yad karoshi, yad juhashi dadasi, yad tapassasa kantya, tat kurushya arpanam. That's how Krishna is saying to Arjun, whatever you do, whatever form of work you have, whatever result you get, please offer it to me, Arjun, because that is what soul is used to. But artificially, right now, this soul is embedded into the matter. And when the soul is embedded into the matter, the soul is trying to derive pleasure. Unfortunately, out of ignorance, the soul is thinking that I can derive the same pleasure through my senses. And the unfortunate situation is senses know nothing better but to interact with the objects of the senses. And this is what Krishna is saying, that if the senses interact with the objects of senses, what do you do to come out of this situation? And that's why he's using this word buddhi yoga, bhakti yoga, buddhi yoga. How do you use your intelligence in such a way that whilst you're working, whilst you're deriving the result or the fruits of your work, how can you come out of this karma bandhan. And then we understand in the later chapters in Karma Yoga that there's a karma, there's a karma, there's a vikarma. And how Lord Krishna explains that if one offers everything that he does, including his thought process and intelligence, one can be completely liberated, completely liberated. Annabhilashita shunyam jnana karma navrutam. So one would reach to the stage where there will be no abhilasha for the material energy, for the material sense gratification. In this particular purport, Srila Prabhupada has quoted 10:10, which is Tesham satata yuktanam bhajitam priti purvakam dadami buddhi yogam tam yenamam upiyanti te. Those who are constantly engaged in serving me with love, I give the understanding. I give the understanding by which they can come to me. It's not that somebody can obtain this understanding. It's not that somebody just go into the forest and do some kind of understanding of nature, philosophy, and come back and say, okay, here I know how to achieve the trance, or so to say, God realization. That will not happen. Krishna is saying, I give them, but when does he give it? Srila Prabhupada explained in this purport that is only rewarded to those who are constantly serving the Lord, and not by our own desires, but by the desire the way Lord wants. That is the emphasis that Lord is giving here to Arjun. He's saying, you do what I am saying to you as a sense of duty now, not because you want to do it. Even if you want to do it or you don't want to do it, it does not matter. It has nothing to do with what I want you to do. So Krishna is being very, very strong about it. He's saying, I want you to fight. Let's say you didn't want to fight, or let's say you wanted to fight. And if I wanted that you don't fight, then you don't fight. And if I'm saying you fight, then you fight. Oh, Arjun, this is your nature. Don't fight against your nature. And it's a very moot point to understand when we get service from our seniors. Most of the time, we want to do the service the way we want it. But the service is given to us in parampara through our gurus and acharyas, coming straight from the Alladini Shakti of Sri Krishna, which is Radharani herself. And that service is coming to us, but we want to do service the way we want to do it, not the way Krishna wants us to do. And that's where Krishna is giving a final point here, that you understand what is Buddhi Yoga. When you will achieve this karma bandha prihasyasi, when will you achieve this prihasyasi? Prihasyasi means you can be released from it. When will you be released? The way I want you to perform. So, Arjun, just fight this battle, but fight it as I want you to fight. So we can see that how elaborately Srila Prabhupada has taken us through this wonderful philosophy and this purport. And people of this world, they don't know. They don't know that they are being washed every moment. Their ignorance is no good. Their ignorance is not bliss. They will have to take note of everything that is, they will have to face the reaction of everything that is being done and performed by them. Every action has an equal and opposite reaction. Every action. That's a scientific law, but that is a universal law created by Lord himself also. So whatever we do, there is a reaction to it. Either a good reaction if we do good deeds, a bad reaction if we do bad deeds. And both of them have to be experienced in the body, in the material body. And for that, one has to take birth and die again and again. So one of my friends, he just shifted a city and he was driving in the city. While he was driving, it was a new place. He did not understand where are the cameras and where are not, what are the limits on the roads. And he drove through. He was happy in exploring the roads of the city. Soon after, a few days when he has driven, he got a notification at home Sir, you were driving at a speed of 36 miles per hour and you were allowed only 30 miles per hour. And soon after, you got another ticket. Sir, you were allowed to drive only 30 miles per hour, but you're driving 40 miles per hour. If you do not sign this document and send back to us, you can be penalized very heavily. The result of this could be that you can get points on your license. And if you delay answering, you will have to pay heavy penalty in the court and the charges of the court. So the fellow is in distress. And he was thinking that he was independent, he was on the road, he has a full driving license, he can drive as he wants, and he was enjoying the journey. Now it's turning into distress because his freedom can be taken away. He can be awarded straight 6 points on the license, another 6 points. If he does 1 or 2 mistakes, license is gone. Jumping the traffic light. And why not? The government is saying that I have made these specific rules for the safety of the citizens. We have kept 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70 various speed limits at various places. We work hard, we put all the road markings, we put all the signposts, we give you training. And here you come and you exercise your freedom, not caring about the rules, not caring about the safety of people. And that's why you are to be penalized. It is seen as a criminal offense in the road safety law. If we draw the analogy in our lives, there are rules and regulations in the material world. And if one is given a vehicle which can exercise full freedom, the human body, the very precious human body, he does not follow the regulated principles as specified in Shastra, surely he will get his ticket. Maybe not now, at the time of death. And there'll be series of notices, all piled up with Yamaraj, and basis which the decisions will be given. You did not perform according to the responsibilities that were given to you as a human being. And therefore, now these are the penalties awaiting for you. And because you did not behave with complete responsibility in the best vehicle which can exercise the complete freedom, therefore now you will be awarded a body where you cannot exercise your freedom. You should now take birth in the animal bodies, animal species. That's where if you're supposed to eat grass, you eat grass. If you're supposed to eat animals, you eat animals. If you're supposed to breed at a certain time of the year, you just breed at that time of the year. You don't do all kinds of unnecessary activities throughout the year. So you follow the law of nature, and there will be no karmic reaction. In due course of time, subsequently, you grow from the body of a tree to the body of a fish to the body of an amphibian, come to the land, fly, become big animals, and eventually, after millions, trillions, who knows how many years, you take birth in human body again. And perhaps by that time, you may have learned some of the lessons. And Krishna is saying that, how do you come out of this cycle of birth and death? Because this license analogy and points analogy, the rules are made by the government. And so there are rules made in the prison house of Maya Devi. Those who follow and reform themselves, they can get out of this place. Those who don't, they'll have to suffer here. That's how the laws are made. And in performing his occupation or his occupational duty, Arjuna was failing. And therefore, Krishna is explaining to him, now you have taken me as your guru. I can explain to you how can you come out of this dilemma of not fighting, So we will go back to where we were in the last week. We discussed that how Arjun has given his words and taken vows before Krishna proceeded to Hastinapur on his mission of establishing peace between the Kauravas and the Pandavas. Arjun gave his word, Janardhan, whatever you want. You want to fight, I will fight. You want to establish peace, then I won't fight. So he was actually talking like the devotee talk, you know. But when the time came, at that time his Gandhi was leaving his hands. His throat was dry and he's saying, Krishna, I'm so sorry. I forgot all my promises that I've given to you. I cannot fight. These are my own relatives and kinmen. I cannot fight. So at that time, Yudhishthira Maharaj also said to Krishna that, look, we are not going to get, if we don't get even 5 villages, our occupational duty is to rule and serve the populace, the general populace of the kingdoms. We are administrators, we are kshatriyas. We are not born to beg. We can't live our lives like that. And therefore, Krishna, if they don't give us even 5 villages, the only resort is to fight. But oh Janardhan, I don't want this fight, because ultimately this fight will be responsible for complete annihilation of so many innocent people. And therefore it is best that you can at least go and request Dhritarashtra to allow us 5 villages so we can at least rule. So Krishna said, yes, I'm happy to go. I'll go there. But then the brothers were quite fearful that Duryodhana is not of a good character. He's arrogant. He can insult Krishna. Will it be any good to tell him anything, because he will not hear? So these thoughts were going through and across them, and they were discussing finer details. And finally, Krishna collected views of all the brothers, and he was quite astonished to hear Bhima was saying, "Be careful. He can be really nasty. So, Krishna, maybe you you speak sweet words to him. Maybe it's best that we don't fight and let them enjoy the way they are enjoying, and at least there's peace." So Krishna rebuked him. Then Bhima kind of roared and said, "What do you understand? Krishna, you don't know that my these 2 arms are like elephant trunks, and anybody who comes into the elephant trunks, they cannot escape out of these trunks. And even if there's heaven and there's this planet Earth, if they're coming together and collide, these arms has the power and the force that they can take these 2 planets and disperse them and take them away from each other. So much power I have. I can just annihilate that Duryodhana right away. Krishna, I'm waiting for you when you come back. I'm waiting for that opportunity." And so Nakul, Sahadev, everybody consented. And at the last, when Krishna was leaving to Hastinapur, at the border of the kingdom, Yudhishthira Maharaj came with folded hands. He remembered his mother. He remembered Mother Kunti, who was at the moment residing in the palace of Vidura. She did not agree to stay in the palace of Dhritarashtra. And Dhritarashtra was very disturbed about this fact. Anyway, he had to accept the decision of Kunti, and Kunti was quite happily staying and feeling secured at house of Vidura. So Yudhishthira Maharaj was saying that we haven't seen our mother for the last 14 years. We don't know how is she. Krishna, now that you are going there, please ask my mother. Tell her that we are all good and we shall soon see her. So a lot of those kind of requests were made to Krishna. And finally, Krishna leaves for his peace mission to Hastinapur. And in between, they were arrested in a particular kingdom, and they moved on from there to Hastinapur. And Krishna was pretty determined as to what he wanted to achieve through this peace mission. So they actually stayed back in a place called a Brikasthala. They spent a night in Brikasthala on the way to Hastinapur. And finally, when Krishna arrived in the royal court of Dhritarashtra, he was honored, he was worshipped, he was honored with suitable words, and he was worshipped with great awe and reverence and respect. Krishna was given a nice throne to sit, they were made servants, and they were honoring Krishna with chamar and whisks, fanning Krishna, because they realized that Krishna has power and influence, that whoever side Krishna goes, that side might win. Therefore, by hook or crook, they wanted to win over Krishna. And they wanted to win over Krishna through their material endeavor. So Duryodhana and Dhritarashtra, Shakuni, they were saying that we should give one of the best palaces to Krishna. Krishna must stay in Dushashan's palace. Dushashan's palace was the best palace. And they said that if Krishna stays in Dushashan's palace and take our honor, then Krishna will be on our side. And then that puny 5 Pandavas, what will they be able to achieve in life? They can do nothing. All they have to do is so simple to win the war. So simple. Just get this Krishna Vasudev on our side. That's the end of the story of this war. But obviously we understand Lord's mood and how he reacts to any such proud, arrogant, materialistic endeavors of a conditioned soul. Krishna decided not to stay with them. Instead, he went to see Kunti in Vidura's palace, and seeing Krishna, Mother Kunti got a relief, such relief, and she started to tell Achyuta about her situation. She started to ask questions about her sons. And she was saying that the voice that spoke from the sky, the gods that spoke from the sky about my son when they took birth, they said that they will be the Lord of this world. They'll be conqueror of this world. At the time of when Yudhishthira was born, the voice said, this world will be the Lord of the world. At Arjuna's birth, the heavenly voice predicted that he would slaughter the Kurus in battle. Oh Krishna, when will these prophecies come true? All I am seeing that my son is suffering. Bhima was given poison to be killed in his early childhood with no fault of his own. And then all these Pandavas were tried to burn. They were tried to be burnt alive, including me in them. Then later on, by deceit, they worked hard, they created this Indraprastha, and by deceit, that Shakuni, he took away everything. Not only that, oh Keshav, when I remember that day when this Draupadi, my youthful Draupadi, she was brought in a single cloth in the assemblies of Kuru and insulted. How can I ever forget that moment, Krishna? With you and the invincible Balram as my protector, as well as Bhim and Arjun. It is also truly astonishing. Oh Krishna, oh Janardhan. Then she prays in her heart that you are the Supreme Lord. And she was not jokingly saying that. Kunti Maharani was a realized soul who understood that Krishna is Lord himself. She was not Yashoda, Mother Yashoda. She was not at a platform of Mother Yashoda, which was higher, because Mother Yashoda did not have the relationship in awe and reverence with Krishna. Mother Yashoda's relationship with Krishna was Vatsalya Prem, where Krishna is completely hidden his opulence to Mother Yashoda. And Mother Yashoda is completely forgetful that this person who she thinks to be her child is Lord, is Supreme Lord. The fear personified is fearful of Supreme Lord. But here, Supreme Lord is fearful of the stick of Mother Yashoda in Damodar Leela, and is crying out his tears, and is trembling. So that relationship that Mother Kunti has is awe and reverence, where she understands this is the Supreme Lord. And then she says that because it all has happened in your presence, O Lord, you have sanctioned it, which means there is some meaning behind all this, which I cannot question. Man proposes, God disposes. Lord fulfilled all the desires in according to what people deserve. There would be appropriate reactions that a conditioned soul must get because of his past karmic activities. So Krishna consoled Mother Kunti. Oh Kunti, Krishna is saying like this, oh Kunti, what woman would there be in the world like you, who is born in a noble family, married to the Lord of Earth, Pandu, given birth to the great heroes. Of these great heroes, one is here was friend of Krishna, the Arjun. You can imagine what feelings Krishna has for Kunti Maharani. He says, your sons are like virtue personified. They're examples of sannyasis because they have controlled sleep, they have controlled laziness, anger, joy, hunger, thirst. They have controlled all these bodily demands. And they don't desire any worldly pleasures. They understand the duality of the happiness and distress of this world. And they possess the true power of determination, of virtues. They are the rightful ruler of this world. Not the one who is after sense gratification, but the one who is under control of the senses. So Krishna is saying, I will give entitlement to those who have controlled their senses. Those who are out there running after money, running after the material opulence, in order to fulfill their insatiable desires, Krishna will not allow that person to be on the high always. That's a temporary situation. Ultimately, Krishna wants to give rulership to those who are in control of senses, who are the devotees of the Lord. They may have any occupational duty, that does not matter, but they are ultimately devotees of the Lord. And therefore, then Krishna gave a promise to Mother Kunti. You will soon see your sons installed as kings and surrounded by prosperity, O Kunti, O Mother Kunti, because they are the rightful owner. They are the rightful owner. So when Kunti heard this promise from Krishna, she was consoled. But she was worshipping Lord Vishnu deities in her palace of Vidura. And every single moment, every single day, every single week, month, and the years, she was constantly meditating upon the well-being of her children, knowing that there's so much suffering in the material, in the forest. Sons who were used to palaces were living the life of ascetics. Like that, Krishna left quarters of Mother Kunti and comes back next day. In between, there were a lot of pastimes, how Krishna eats prasadam made by Vidura's wife. So I want to come to a point where Krishna is coming back in the assembly the very next day. And when he comes back in the assembly next day, There's a chapter in Mahabharata, Krishna Dharma Prabhu's Mahabharata. It says Duryodhana's abstinency. We will see how Krishna is going to be acting as a perfect peacemaker, as a doot to Pandavas. Supreme Lord himself has come as a doot to Pandavas. He enters in the assembly with Vidura and Satyaki holding his hands. And Dhritarashtra rose along with Bhishma, Drona, Kripa and others. And when they rose, Krishna told them that he's not alone. And he said, there are many celestial rishis approaching the assembly. And there are many demigods who are assembled here already. See there, Narad Muni is standing there. Please lay out golden seats for them. So, by the order of Krishna, Dhritarashtra then fetched the golden seats to place all these demigods and the sages. Such was the scene. Supreme Lord himself, his entire entourage is present. And you will see how Krishna is trying to establish this peace between the Kauravas and Pandavas and trying to explain this obstinate Duryodhana. He should give up his obstinacy. So he said to Dhritarashtra, Dhritarashtra, O king, between you and me, we can take decision of this war right now. How? Because you are the king, and therefore you can order your wicked son right now to be arrested, and you give the kingdom to the Pandavas, who are the rightful owners of this throne. So basically, peace lies in your hand. Peace lies in your hands, O Dhritarashtra. Do not allow your fine heritage to be ruined by your own son. Krishna looked over at Duryodhana. Duryodhana was very distracted. And Krishna said to Duryodhana, to Dhritarashtra again, he said, give order to your son, give order. And I tell you that Pandava will never ignore my advice. So immediately between the two families, the peace can be restored. The blind Dhritarashtra sat back and said, where am I be able to say anything to my own son? Duryodhana has his own mind, and he does whatever he does. So it's not in my hand. And my feeling of affection for Pandavas is equally good, but you know, he's my son. I also don't want to go against his wishes. Krishna said, on your request, these Pandavas were there in 13 years in exile, expecting that you will keep your words. Be fair with that. You give a promise that you will give back their kingdom. So Dhritarashtra was very uncomfortable. He was guilty of mistreating his own brother's son, the royal brother who gave him the responsibility to run the kingdom on his behalf, who now sat on the throne so attached like the government politicians of this world. They don't want to leave the seat, even if whatever, you know, scandals are up against them. They want to continuously rule by hook or crook. So the Dhritarashtra was showing that kind of attachment and symptoms, where he didn't want to now give up the kingdom. This deep desire inside his heart was now getting manifested as a desire for his own child, his own son. He always wanted to be king. Somewhere inside, he had this strong feeling. Now, when he was given the opportunity, he thought that that's a permanent position for him, And now he thought that why others, but not my own son, should rule the world. And hence, the entire assembly was quiet. So like that, Krishna was trying to make peace. So Parshuram, the Rishi Parshuram, was present in that assembly. And he woke up wearing a black deer skin, cladded hair, matted hair, and his eyes were glowing. Dark eyes, but glowing eyes. And his body was showing a mystic luminosity, shining body. He told the assembly, he said, I'll tell you a story. There was an ancient king called as Dambodbhava. Dambodbhava. This Dambodbhava has incomparable powers, so much powers. He was excessively proud and very arrogant. And he was in search of a powerful man on earth who can give him equal fight in the battlefield. So this Gandhamadan, so he went to this Gandhamadan mountain. Dambodbhav goes to Gandhamadan mountain where two personalities were performing and practicing asceticism. He challenged them. They declined, but the king insisted, fight with me. If you must, oh Kshatriyas, bring your entire. So he was challenging these ascetics, and one of the ascetic, he was called Nar. And Nar said, okay, oh Kshatriya, you bring your entire army with all your weapons. So this Damodar Bhav, he brings his entire army with all his powers. He attacked the rishis. And this Nar, he just pulls a handful of grass and he imbues mystic power in that grass. And he hurled it at the king and his army. These grasses transformed into razor-sharp steel shafts. And these shafts started to slice off the ears and noses of the entire army, of all the soldiers in the entire army of this king. So Dambodbhav king, his entire army's nose and ears were cleared off or sliced off just by a few grass, which became razor-sharp shafts. So many shafts rained down upon them that they were unable to move. And Dambodbhav then fell at Nara's feet and begged for mercy. Oh, my Lord, please forgive me. I became arrogant. I became proud. The rishis forgave him and instructed him not to ever do this again and bring that insult. And never insult someone without first establishing his opponent's power. So Parshuram looked around in the assembly and said that this was just one Nar. I'm not even talking about his companion who was Narayan. Only Nar defeated this powerful Dambodbhav. So this Narayan and Nar, who gave this great pain to Dambodbhav, are nobody but Arjuna and Krishna. These are the same heroes. And not only that, they are Nar and Narayan, which is human and the god, with all other demigods. They have come together. And Duryodhan, you will have no chance to win over these divine personalities. Then he declared, no one can defeat Arjun in the three worlds. And this Janardhan, he exceeds Arjun. It's best that you make peace with them. Do what is good for yourselves and for the whole world. Then there was another rishi with the name Kanva. He speaks. He said that these five heroes, the Pandavas, they are demigods. Dharma, Vayu, Indra, Ashwini Kumaras. And they have now united with Vishnu, the Lord Krishna himself. Oh, Duryodhan, how will you even look at them? What to talk about fighting with them? So these rishis are explaining the Duryodhana. And Duryodhana is just looking here and there. And he says, slapping his thigh, I am whatever God has made me. It is He who created me, He who decides my fate. I will do exactly as He has determined and nothing else. What use is this all discussion? So he's just pushing it off or shoving it off as if he's not listening. Then finally, Narad Rishi speaks. He recites an ancient story about the king who has suffered as a result of his obstinacy and ignorance. He said, listen to this, Duryodhana, obstinacy leads to ruin. Abandon your anger. Give up and make peace with Pandavas. Together, you both will be insurmountable. Nobody can defeat you. But Duryodhana, he replied, oh Narad, what you have said is true. I too wish for peace, but I am not the master in this case. Sorry, Dhritarashtra says that. Dhritarashtra says that. Duryodhana says nothing. So Dhritarashtra finally got convinced. He said, oh Keshav, whatever you're saying is truth and for the benefit of the world. But I don't think I have the power to make this Duryodhana understand. Let me bring Gandhari in the assembly. Maybe she can turn his mind around. So finally, Gandhari was called in the assembly. And Dusashan, Gandhari started to explain this Duryodhana. And he said to Dhritarashtra, it's only by your blessings he has become what he has become. And Gandhari said that, make peace with your brothers. Duryodhana left. And just after that, Dushasan said, brother, it looks like this is the best recourse, that we just now make peace. So Duryodhana left. Duryodhana left the assembly. He comes out and he says that this Krishna is mystic. He has turned everybody's mind against me and he wants to get me arrested. It's best that we get him arrested. And you, Dushasan, in that assembly, you went against me. You never do that. And Karna was present and he said, I will not become the part of this thing that you go and make a Dut as imprisoned and make him captive. That's not Kshatriya Dharma. And the Shakuni was laughing away and says, and he was like, yes, let's make him captive. So they come back to the assembly. They come back to the assembly. And now Duryodhana will try to make Krishna captive. So I think it's 9 o'clock. The story, the pastime becomes more beautiful now after this point, because now Krishna has shown the universal form. So maybe we'll take that into our next discussion. If there are any comments and questions, please, we can, maybe 1 or 2, 1 minute, we can do that. I'm so sorry to go over the time. Didn't realize. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Very nice, Prabhuji. We never heard before. Thank you for sharing this.
Thank you.
Prabhuji, this is from Mahabharata. You are like,
yes. Okay. We can all read this in Krishna Dharma Mahabharata. It's also available at Vedabase online. And yeah, you can relish it from point of devotees. It's beautiful, beautifully written. Leela Krishna Prabhu, Leela Purushottam Prabhu, Hari Bol. You're on mute.
Thank
you. Yeah, thank you very much for amazing class.
May obeisance system to you.
Yeah, so I'm very anxiously waiting for the second part. Yeah, very nice, Jai. Thank you.
Thank you, Prabhu. Thank you for your encouragement as usual.
Well, see, Prabhupada's and Guru Maharaj's mercy. You are doing so well there, all of you. The whole group is fantastic. Yeah, thank you.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Jai.
Hare Krishna, Manu Prabhu.
Shani Mataji, my obeisances unto you.
Obeisances to you as well, Prabhu. Beautiful, very nice, very nice. Beautiful story. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Jai.
Okay, I'm going to end this session here. Vancha kalparubhyascha kripa sindhubhe vacha patitanam pavnebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare.
Jai.
Thank you,
Hare
Prabhuji. Thank
Hare
you for
Krishna.
wonderful
Krishna.
class.
Thank
Thank
you,
you.
Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna,
Hare
everybody.
Krishna.